I love teachers, and if you start doing the math, I look at a monthly pension or an annual amount that TRS typically would provide for a teacher that's worked in the system for a long time as worth $1 million. And I'm going to do the math here in just a second, as I would consider teachers the ultimate millionaires next door. And here's what I mean by that. The average teacher benefit for TRS, and this is as of June of 2022, and I'm going to round the numbers here just a little bit. Math teachers, forgive me. But as of 2022, the average monthly benefit for teachers in TRS is about $39,500 a year, or close to $3,300 per month. If we take that annual number, $39,500, and divide it by 4%, which helps us stick to the 4% rule, it tells us what kind of lump sum it would take in order to generate $39,500 per year at 4%, following the 4% rule. Well, what's the math? It doesn't work out perfectly to $1 million, but it's pretty darn close. $39,500 divided by 4% works out to exactly $987,500. Just a few $1,000s shy of $1 million. Now, I know it takes an awfully long time, a lot of hard work, and a lot of years in order to realize a benefit like that through TRS. And my advice to teachers over the last 25 years in the financial industry is stick with it, because your pension alone from TRS really could be and should be worth $1 million.
My advice to a new teacher would be for you to come in, make sure that you are focused, make sure you have student-centered activities going on in your classroom, make sure that you're aware of your retirement with TRS, make sure you're tracking your years, make sure that you are just vested, and make sure you're in it for the right reasons. We get into education to change lives of our students and make a difference, and that is what it's all about.
I have been a new educator, and even though it's overwhelming, you have to stick with it. I was in the education field for 31 years, and then I retire. So now I draw my benefits, and it's amazing. You get a 1.5% raise twice a year. So that's 3% every year. You don't always get that when you're teaching. Also, because I retired, I wasn't quite ready to stop working. So I started working for an organization, a professional organization. So now I draw a full-time salary because it's a non-TRS place, and I get my teacher benefits on top of that. It's a really great deal, and it keeps me connected to education. You will not be sad if you stick with it. Good luck to you on your journey.
The Teachers Retirement System of Georgia administers the retirement benefits for many of the state's colleges, universities, and public schools employees. The mission of TRS is to provide pension education, safeguard plan investments, and efficiently administer retirement benefits. Our core values are to act with integrity and honesty, serve our internal and external customers with excellence, and demonstrate commitment to continuous improvement. Our defined benefit plan, a 401A, guarantees a monthly benefit based on a member's final average salary and service. This plan relieves members from having to make their own investment decisions. TRS assumes the investment risks so your retirement benefit stays secure. Unlike an IRA or 401k, a TRS retirement benefit does not fluctuate with stock market performance. In fact, state of Georgia legislation guarantees TRS members to receive retirement income for life. In the event of a member's death, certain plans allow a benefit to be passed on to a beneficiary, who will receive income for the duration of his or her life as well. The Teachers Retirement System of Georgia's vision is to be the premier retirement system, providing exceptional and comprehensive service. Visit our website to learn more.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today, Teachers Retirement System of Georgia, on this Wednesday afternoon. And we are going to talk about your TRS benefit and what that means for you. My name is Winston Buckley, and I am the Director of Communications and Outreach for the Teachers Retirement System of Georgia. And again, we're going to talk about your benefit, what that means for you, how you can maximize it. And for those of you that are brand new to education, to a TRS covered employer, welcome. Welcome to the family. Welcome to one of the greatest benefits as far as retirement planning is concerned. And so we're going to talk about what that means for you. And for those of you that may have been in the system for some years already, hopefully you'll get a better understanding of what that TRS, what that 6% of your pay is going into and what that means for you when you retire. Now, if you haven't already, make sure that you are liking and subscribing here on whatever channel you're watching us today so that you are informed when we go live, when we have other content that we put out there. And there's content for you all along the way over the course of your career, from the time that you start, the middle of your career as a pre-retiree, and even when you retire. And not just TRS information, we have estate planning, Social Security, affordability, financial literacy. There are so many different parts of your financial plan that you need to know about and be involved in. So make sure, again, that you are liking and subscribing on all of our different channels, from Facebook to Instagram to YouTube and even our podcast. All right. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started, and make sure you share this out with people that may need to hear this information as well. If your teachers down the hall, your admins in the building with you, tell them to go ahead and go onto our Instagram and YouTube page and join us for the conversation. So today we are going to talk about your money and your future. Your retirement starts now. Your retirement planning starts now. And I'll tell you, for me, when I first started working, I started working in college. Actually, I started working in high school, and I definitely wasn't thinking about retirement then. But in college and after I graduated, even though I was working in the banking system, retirement planning was not something that was on the forefront of my mind. At that time, I was just trying to pay for my apartment at the time. I was trying to get a car. I was thinking about the clothes that I was wearing at the time. Hopefully, one day get in a house, and just the things that were right in front of me that were important to me. So those things, they don't necessarily become less important, but over time, you'll find that your future is going to be even more important. And some of you are already thinking, I will say that Gen Zs, they are thinking about finances probably more so than generations in the past in different ways. But also we understand that affordability and increases, those things are impacting how you're looking at finances, and some challenges that you may have now may not have existed 10 or 15 years ago. So we're going to talk about how you can maximize your TRS benefit as well while you're working and after you retire. So those are some things that we will be covering today. So your TRS benefit, what exactly is it? These are some questions that you want to ask yourself in conjunction with your TRS benefit. How does it benefit you? Do career changes affect your retirement? How will you reach your financial goals? Are you living within your means? This is something that we all have to ask ourselves. The old budgeting is kind of like dieting. You know that you need to do it, but do you really want to do it? It's kind of one of those things like, yes, I should save more and spend less, but doing it is not always as easy as it sounds. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Social Security, are you contributing to it? And do you have a successful plan in place to secure your future? So financial security is one piece of the puzzle. You want to make sure that you have a good plan in place so that what's coming in is less than what's going out. That's just the basics. But then also, what does your picture of retirement look like? So if you haven't thought about that yet, if you're brand new and finances is not really your thing, I'm sure you know what kind of lifestyle you want to live. And that requires finances. That requires planning for that. So whether that's traveling, a lot of people say, well, when I retire, I am going to see the world. I'm going to go around the world 2 times. And there's Tahiti, or there might be South America. You might want to see the 7, or now they say 8 wonders of the world. You might want to go see those things. All of that takes money to do that. And so are you putting yourself in the place in order to do that in the future? So we will talk about getting yourself there and getting yourself prepared for your financial future. So we're going to start with your benefit, the TRS formula, and creditable service. Now, your TRS plan is a defined benefit plan, but is more commonly referred to as a pension plan. And a pension plan just means that you are getting a lifetime income at the point of your retirement. So once you retire and you sever your active employment and you are drawing a benefit, you will get that benefit, that monthly income for the rest of your lifetime. And that lifetime benefit can also be passed on to surviving beneficiaries, depending on the plan that you choose. So not only could you get a lifetime guaranteed benefit, you can also pass a lifetime guaranteed benefit to somebody else. And this is very generous when we're talking about financial planning. Again, I came from the banking world, and people had to plan for their own retirement. So there's a lot of jobs where you plan for your own retirement in the banking world. Yes, we had 401ks and there were other options that we could do. But the pension, when I first started, there was a pension, but that was frozen. And I worked for an airline for a period of time, and they had a pension, but that stopped. And so in the private sector is not very common, it's almost non-existent for people to have a pension. And about 14% of Americans have access to a pension. So this really is and can be a cornerstone to your retirement planning. Now, the formula that we use to determine what your retirement benefit is going to be is your years of service that you put into the plan. We'll multiply that by 2%. So you're going to get a percentage of your high average salary, which is your highest 2 consecutive years of salary, wherever that falls in your career. Now, I know some of you are probably looking at, if you haven't already, but some of you probably are looking at step increases. So you probably are saying, okay, if I do this many number of years, I will get this pay. Or if I get an advanced degree, if I get a specialist in a certain area, if I get my master's or my doctorate, I will get this certain amount. Or there may be a promotion that's available for me if I do certain things along the way in my career. All of that counts towards what's called the high average salary. And that's your highest 2 consecutive years, wherever that falls in your career. For most people, that's going to be the last 2 years. However, there are some of you that probably will do some coaching. You may do extended day. You might do some summer school. And so we will find where those highest 24 months are and multiply all of that together to get the basic benefit under the max plan. Now, you see some bullet points here, and it goes over taxation and deductions. Right now, you're paying into the plan at a rate of 6% of your salary. And so that 6%, you might see a line that says TRS on your pay stub. Well, that goes into your account before any taxes come out. And so when you receive that in your retirement, you're going to be paying taxes at that time. So you'll be paying federal and state income taxes when you retire. And then you have the option to keep the state health benefit plan for those of you that are eligible for state health benefit plan, or you can keep the Board of Regents health insurance, and that won't come out of your TRS check, your monthly benefit, but there are options for those of you that will be eligible. So we highly recommend to also look at the health insurance, because that's a big part of the retirement planning. Health insurance is becoming more and more expensive. The older we get, of course, when you're younger, you don't typically use your health insurance as much, but as you get older, that will become more of an expense. And for those of us that have been working for a while, we've seen premiums go up over time. And so those are the sort of things where you want to be aware of what that's going to mean for your retirement benefit and your retirement planning. Now, I'm jumping all over the place here. Okay, my slide here talks about your years of creditable service and what that means for your monthly benefit. The longer you work, the higher your benefit will be. Because remember, in that formula, it says the years of service multiplied by 2, and then your high average salary. So those years drive your pension benefit. The longer you work, the higher it's going to be. So if you have 10 years of service for somebody, let's say they're making $37.50 a month, then their monthly income will be $750 guaranteed for life. If they did 20 years, that would be times 2%, which is 40% of their salary, that high average salary. That person would get $1,500 per month for life. If it's 30 years of service, this person does, it's $2,250. And if it's 40 years, then it's 3,000, and 40 is the max. So you can put up to 40 years of service in your TRS benefit and get 80% of your benefit for life. Now, some of you might be saying, Winston, there is no way that I'm doing 40 years of service. You can mark my words. You can read my lips. I will not do 40 years of service. But you would be surprised. When I came to TRS and I was in my 20s at the time, I said, well, I'll give it 5 years. I'll probably do 5 years. I never worked anywhere more than 3 years. So 5 years just seemed like a long time. Well, I am embarking on my 17th year here at TRS. And so you just never know where your path will lead you, what you will be doing. And so you might find yourself doing something that you really enjoy in your 30th year. And you might say, well, I'll do one more. And you don't have to just work for this 40 years of service. You can buy service towards that. And you can use sick leave as well. And we'll touch on that in just a few minutes. So there's different ways to get to 40 years of service and maximize your benefit. And remember, this is a lifetime income. So this is guaranteed. This is not something where it fluctuates in the market, goes up and down. This can be like a cornerstone for your retirement planning, and anything that you do above and beyond that is all gravy on top. All right. Now, how does this benefit me in the meantime? How does my benefit me? Okay. While you're working, it's going in before any taxes are going out. So therefore, it reduces your taxable liability. Now, so for those of you that may not be as familiar with taxes, you have, again, your pre-tax contributions. So when you get paid, there are things that come out of your check before any taxes come out. And then there's post-tax contributions or deductions that come out of your check after taxes. The pre-tax contributions help you because it reduces what you have to pay on taxes now. So for somebody that's making $3,750, 6% of their money of their paycheck is going towards TRS, and therefore their taxable salary is $3,525. So you're paying less in taxes now because you're putting money into a tax sheltered account. And so that goes for 401ks, 403bs, 457b plans, IRA plans. So there's different ways that you can reduce what you're paying in taxes now. All right. So something to think about. And, some people will say, well, 6% is kind of steep. But again, look what it's doing for you. It's actually saving you money and letting you put your active income to work now. Now, people will ask me all the time. They say, Winston, when can I retire? Some will ask when they first start. They are planning for their retirement from day one. Some people are 5 years in, and those that are really close to the end, they really want to know this. So there's 3 different ways to retire. That's with your service retirement. That's a normal retirement, a disability retirement, and then there's an early service option. So with the normal service retirement, this means that you can retire at any age with at least 30 years of service. So for those of you that are starting at 21, some of you might be right out of high school at 18. I counsel, when I was an outreach counselor here at TRS, I counseled somebody that started when they were 18, did 30 years, they were 48. This guy was 48 years old and was about to get a benefit for the rest of his lifetime. So he stayed the course and was able to retire early, and he could not work anymore or decide to do a whole nother career. Now, some of you, this might be your second career, or maybe you just started later coming into TRS. 10 years of service is all you need to be vested, and you can retire at 60 years of age and receive that benefit for life. So you can come in and do 10 years of service, retire at age 60, you have a lifetime income. Now, 10 years of service, again, is very important. That means that you're vested, and vesting allows you to be entitled to a retirement benefit. So if you have that and you happen to become disabled and cannot perform your current job duties, then at that time, you can apply for retirement, and if approved, you will receive a lifetime income. And then there's also early retirement, early service retirement. So you're not 60 years of age just yet, but you do have 25 years of service. You can apply for an early retirement, but that is a reduced retirement. And so it's something to think about. If you get to 25 years of service and you're ready to go, you want to think about what it looks like at 60 years of age or 30 years of service and see what that difference is, because there is a reduction to what you receive monthly, not only in a percentage, but there is an early service penalty that is paid that you will be paying if you decide to retire early. So it's an option. However, it's at a cost. Kind of like early Social Security. You can take that early, but you're reducing the overall amount that you can get. So those are the three ways that you can retire. Now, when it's time to retire, this is not something that new members or even mid-career members necessarily need to think about, but you have a lot of options for your beneficiaries. Remember, I said that you can possibly pass on a lifetime income to somebody else. So the first two options that we have that you'll choose when you put your application in for retirement are non-survivorship options. They guarantee you a lifetime income, but only a lump sum of what's left in your TRS account for a beneficiary or beneficiaries. And then we have the survivorship options, which will allow those options 2 through 4 will allow a lifetime income to someone else. So depending on which option you choose when you retire, is going to guarantee both you and or your beneficiaries a lifetime income. And again, that's depending on the option. And that's in the future. That's something that you will look at in those last 6 months before your retirement date. Now, how much will you get? Again, you can use the formula. For some of us, we need to see it visually. So some of us, we're really good with the mental math. We can do those equations really quickly. Well, we have a pension calculator for all of us, and especially for those of us that need to visually see how much the money is going to be. If you go to our website at trsga.com, on there, you can go to our pension calculator at any time. You can throw in salary expectations. You can put in the number of years of service. So if you want to say, okay, well, I'm thinking about 20 years. I think I can do 20, or I'm thinking about 40 years. You can put that in there, the ages of your beneficiaries, and it will show you how much you would get and your beneficiaries are entitled to in each one of these options. So a very powerful tool. You can use that to see, okay, if I want to make this amount of money or a certain amount of money when I retire, how many years do I need to put in? What does my salary need to be? And knowing what your plan is, having a solid plan is really, really good, because it helps you determine, okay, I'm thinking about spending this money to get this doctorate degree or get a specialist degree or go get a certification and improve upon myself. Is it worth my time and money? And you can see how it's going to benefit you on the back end in your retirement. And while you're working, these things will help you with the affordability, because like I said before, with inflation, we know that everything will go up over time. I remember going to the corner store and you could buy 5-cent candies at the time. And that just doesn't exist anymore. At least I don't know about it. If y'all know about it, let me know. But, bread and milk and gas and energy costs, housing, all those things, they go up over time. So you want to know what your number is going to be. And we're going to talk about knowing what your number is going to be. But this is a powerful tool. Again, the pension calculator, and you can use that on our website. So now we're going to switch lanes just a little bit and talk about the service to get you to that retirement eligibility. And there's 3 different types, which is your membership service, buying service, and sick leave. Your membership service is what you're working for. So right now you are in your classroom, you're in the office, you're outside, you're taking care of the buildings. All of that counts towards your TRS benefit. In any full-time work that's half-time or greater, you are earning service towards your TRS benefit. And so as long as you have 9 months within our fiscal year, which runs from July to June, you get your full year's credit for that fiscal year. And then you can buy service towards your TRS benefit as well. So think about anything that you've done in the past, especially in the public sector. So if you work for a TRS covered employer, if you served in the military and you're not expecting a retirement benefit from the military, worked out of state, private school here in Georgia, there's a lot of different service types. Even if you went and took a break and got an advanced degree and you were already a TRS member, you can possibly buy that service back. So there's all different types of service that you can add to your working service. And that's another way to get to that 40 years. So it's not just what you work for. And then there's sick leave. Now you can use sick leave to retire early as well. You can use sick leave to get to that 25-year mark. So say if you're at 24 years and you have a year of sick leave, you can get that to 25. Or if you're at 29 years, you have a year of sick leave that can get you to 30 years of service. So that sick leave will actually help you push forward your retirement date so that you can retire at an earlier time. And so think about those mental health days, those days where you don't want to get out of bed. The body may not be feeling that good. The knees might be hurting. For some of you that are in your 20s, that you probably don't have too many of those. Maybe you just hung out too late, or you stayed up watching your favorite series on Netflix and you just don't feel like going in. Well, if you don't use too many of those mental health days, they can benefit you in the end, because if you have at least 60 days of sick leave when you retire, that will give you additional credit. So at 60 days of sick leave, that gives you 3 months of service. If you have 70 days, it's 4 months. And every 20 days after that gets you an additional month of service towards your TRS benefit. Now, at 170 days, that's 9 months. And remember, like we said, 9 months makes a full year. So that gives you a full year towards your TRS. 350 days is 2 years that you can retire early. And there's no cap on what you can use towards your TRS benefit. So if you have 500 days, if you never take a sick leave day and you work enough years and bank that, you can retire several years early by having that sick leave. And so to drive this point home, here's a chart of two members. They worked the same amount of time. Tom and Mary, they both worked 26 years, had the same high average salary of $4,500, and they retired on the same date. Now, Tom, he had to use all of his sick leave. And so he had 26 years of service. We multiply that by 2%. He's going to get 52% of his salary, that $4,500, which means $2,340 for life for him. Mary, on the other hand, she had 312 days when she finished. Same amount of time. They worked the same amount of days, but she will end up with 27 years and 7 months of service. Same salary, but her monthly benefit is going to be $2,500 per month for the rest of her lifetime. So that's a really nice pair of shoes. That's a really nice dinner that she can have every single month for the rest of her lifetime. That could be a bill. So just think about what that can do. Or if she wants to reinvest that money, what is that for the rest of your lifetime? And so if somebody were to say, hey, here's another $160 just per month, I'm going to give this to you for life. That's pretty significant, and that's something that I would not turn down. So now we're going to talk about your career and navigating that. Decisions, very important decisions that you're going to be making along the way, because we know that you're going to be presented with opportunities both within the TRS system, outside. There might be something out of state. There might be, you might get married and present some life changes. So you want to know what your options are if you decide to terminate your current job, if there's something new that you want to do, and how you can continue to maximize your benefits. So we're going to talk about that. Now, if you decide to leave, let's say you get a job offer in the private sector, you can leave your funds with TRS or you can take the funds out. If you decide to leave your funds with TRS and you're vested having 10 years of service, then you can park it. And when you turn age 60, you can start drawing that benefit for life. So let's say I did 10 years as a teacher. I went into the private sector. I started a nonprofit. And then at age 60, I can start drawing that benefit, that 20% for life. Or if I did 15 years, that would be 30% for the rest of my lifetime. The money that's in your account, it stays active for 4 years. So you're gaining interest at a rate of 4.5% for 4 years after your last work date. And it becomes inactive after that. So no more interest is being added, but it's still locked in for your retirement. And if you decide to come back, and a lot of people do this, a lot of people will do a certain job for a period of time and then they come back because they say, you know, I really enjoy what I did, or I just needed a break, or there's a better opportunity for me there. Then you can add to your service. So you can combine that service from that time that you had that break. Now, if you decide to leave and take your money out, if you are vested, you are forfeiting your lifetime income. So you're saying, okay, I want to take my funds and I do not want the lifetime benefit. You can take it in one of two ways. You can take a lump sum benefit, a lump sum payment. But if you take that directly to you, you're paying your taxes. So remember, everything that came into your TRS account that came in before any taxes came out. And so you have to pay federal and state income taxes at that time. And if you're under age 55, you're paying a 10% penalty, an early withdrawal penalty on that as well. So you could be paying anywhere from 30 to 50% just in taxes and penalties. And you're basically just giving that money away. So you do have the option to roll that over into a qualified account, a sheltered account like a 401k or 403b or an IRA. So you do have some options to not have that taxation right away and avoid those penalties. And so I would highly recommend doing that if you're thinking of withdrawing your account. But again, a lot of people do come back and they want to rebuy that service, but you have to wait 3 years in order to do that. And it's more expensive for you to buy that because of the interest that's accumulated over that time period. So really something to think about. Make sure you're evaluating that choice and talk to a financial planner or an advisor before you decide to do that. Now, vesting, again, is very important. Unfortunately, there are times where members do pass while they're working. And so what that means for your beneficiary is they can either choose between a lifetime benefit or a lump sum if you are vested. So if you have 10 or more years of service, then they can get the lump sum. But if you're not vested, then they just get a one-time lump sum payment or whatever's in your account. So whatever you paid in is not lost. If you happen to pass before you retire, just depending on if you're vested or not determines who gets what and how much they get. Now, speaking of those beneficiaries, it's very important to have both a primary and a secondary beneficiary on file. Now, you need to have both because the secondary is a contingent to your primary. So let's say there's something that's happened to me as the member and my primary beneficiary, then the secondary beneficiary comes into play. And so if there's monies that are owed, then the secondary beneficiary will be the recipient of that. You need to make sure that you have both on file. The beneficiary information is based solely what's on file at TRS. So there's nothing that supersedes the information on file. You're going to go through open enrollment pretty soon. I'm pretty sure you probably have filled out a lot of paperwork at the beginning of the school year that might have had some beneficiary information on that. You're going to do, again, open enrollment in a few months. You're going to update some beneficiary information. But none of that rolls over to TRS. So you have to log into your TRS account and make sure that you select beneficiaries in your TRS account. You have to go to trsga.com because nothing rolls over to us. So you need to make sure that you're checking that. Make sure that these percentages are where you want them to be. Make sure that you have the person that you want listed. So yes, we have made payments to ex-spouses because somebody had a life event and they never got around to updating that beneficiary to the new spouse. And so the ex-spouse might say, well, I guess Winston wanted me to have it. He never changed it. So if you want to avoid calamity in your family, heartache, make sure if you have any life changes that you go to your TRS account and update that beneficiary. Now you can choose an estate or a trust. However, that's a one-time lump sum payment to those type of accounts. So if there's a minor, or say if there's somebody that needs a certain type of assistance, so they may not be able to manage those funds directly, you still want to list them as the beneficiary, and you can, with your legal documents, determine who you want to be the executive of the estate, for example, somebody that's the guardian for a minor, those type of things you can set up outside, but list the person as the beneficiary. So again, the information that we have on file at TRS is what is going to matter. There's nothing else that supersedes the information that's on file at TRS. All right. Now, let's say you are receiving a lifetime income. Some people in TRS are receiving a benefit from their parents, from a spouse, and that sort of thing. Or if you have your beneficiaries, you want to make sure that you update that information as soon as possible. If there's a death to somebody that's receiving a TRS benefit, somebody that may be a beneficiary in the future, that can be reported on our website at trsga.com. And there's information that will tell you how to do that. So very important to do that, to make sure there's no overpayments. That's a very sticky situation if somebody has received a payment that they shouldn't and they have to pay that back. So again, we want to make sure that you are avoiding any calamity in your family, any heartache. The passing of somebody is already tough enough. Making things as easy as possible on a financial front is another part of that financial planning. So some of you might be in your 20s or you might be in your 30s and you're thinking, well, I just never really thought about me passing my loved one passing and that sort of thing. There are so many situations that can happen. And me being a counselor on the road for 10 years here, I have seen a lot of situations where people they never got around to creating a will. They never got around to doing their health directive or setting up their beneficiary information, and they passed unexpectedly. And then we get the call or the email from the spouse or from the child that was expecting that benefit. They say, I know my wife or my husband was a teacher and they talked about this TRS thing, but why am I not getting my monthly benefit? So make sure that these things with TRS are set up. And then go onto our YouTube channel. We have an estate planning podcast and it talks about that. So again, if you haven't liked and subscribed, another one of my shameless plugs here, make sure that you are, because we have a lot of good information about those type of things for you. All right. Now, lastly, we're going to talk about navigating your career. Again, you are going to change careers. Hopefully you are making a whole lot more money 20 years from now than we're making. That's the goal, right? We all want to make more and do more. Well, some of us don't want to do more, but all of us want to at least make more, and you want to make more in your retirement. And so you are trying to navigate your career and figure out how this TRS thing is going to benefit you while you're working and thereafter. And so if you think about the TRS umbrella, we have all of the university system, the public universities, we have the technical colleges, and we have all of those schools and some libraries and other entities that are in the TRS system. So what you're doing today might not necessarily be what you're doing 5, 10, 20 years from now. And you want to think about opportunities within the system to continue to increase your retirement benefit. Now, once you're vested, it opens up even more opportunity, because if you're a TRS member and there's a state agency, there's opportunities there where you could possibly continue with your TRS benefit or start another pension with the ERS plan, or start another pension with PSERS. So there are several pension plans in Georgia itself that you can take advantage of and maximize your retirement when it's time to start collecting. And if you decide to move out of state, that's a reality for some. We have, some of us are married to people that will get deployed and stationed elsewhere. So maybe you want to still teach or be that admin, but do that in another state. Sometimes you can transfer your TRS out of state. Likewise, you can do that here in Georgia. Some states won't allow it, but if you're vested, you can get vested in another state, be vested here, and draw 2 retirement benefits. So a lot of options. You want to always figure out from a financial standpoint, what does that mean? Now, if you're going into the private sector, one thing to think about is what's called imputed income. And so, Winston, what is that? Well, that's all of those benefits. That's your health insurance. That's your TRS benefit. You're paying into Social Security. Some of you are paying into Social Security, some are not, but all of the benefits. So if there's a salary that's out there, does it stack up against what your benefit that you're getting now? All of those things with having TRS and a pension plan. Now, as far as your pension is concerned, is it going to be enough? Some of us, again, we have our plans for our retirement. I've said in the earlier sessions, when I graduated from college, I was supposed to be rich. By the time I was 35, I was going to be retired. I thought 35 was really old. So I was going to be, retired before my body started hurting and I'll be done with this work thing. Well, it didn't quite pan out that for me. So you want to think about your plan, and you want to, just in case, like I said, I plan on doing 5 years. It's 17. So I need to think about, will my pension be enough? Will your pension be enough for you? And for some, that's going to be enough. You say, okay, I can live off 60%. I'm already saving 20% of my salary. I'm going to reduce my expenses. Some people will say 60%. No way that's enough. So then you need to look at your Social Security benefit, look at any other savings that you're doing, investing. So putting that money away will help you. And you need to depend on yourself by knowing. So again, using that pension calculator. But if you need help with these type of things, and all of us can use a coach when it comes to finances, there are financial planners, there are advisors. Here are some resources at the bottom of this slide here. But that might be with your current administrator of your plan. There's a lot of good resources. There are some bad ones out there as well. So If anybody comes off a little shady, if anybody says that, oh, I can guarantee you this return that you're going to get here and nowhere else, you might want to just give some pause to that. If anybody's a little shady, or if you just don't feel right, or they're trying to rush you into an investment or push you into something that just doesn't make sense to you, if you don't understand what you're investing in, then by all means, back away. Now, interest is going to work for you and investing is going to work for you. Interest can work for you by compounding, or it will work against you. And we're going to talk about ways it works against you, but working for you, compounding interest, Einstein, it was one of those things where he said it was one of the marvels of the world. So as smart as he was like, this is amazing, compounding interest. And it's one of those things where it's gradual and then it's sudden. So for somebody that started at age 32, putting $100 per month away into an investment account and getting a rate of return of 5%. Now, the stock market has done more than this over the course of its history. Yes, it goes up and down, but on average, it does 10 to 12% per year. So this is very conservative. So somebody getting 5% return and they start at age 32, retire at 60, that turns into $73,000. And somebody that starts at 42, that turns into $35,000. And somebody that started at 52, that turns into almost $12,000. So there's never a time that's too late. I know some will say, man, I wish I would have started when I was in my 20s, me included. I was not thinking about 60 at age 60 or 40 years down the road because I was supposed to be rich and famous. But little amounts, they amount to much in the end. So putting away just a little bit, $100 is it's not a lot as far as, what that can do right now, but it compounds upon itself. Now, speaking of compounding again, it can work against you in the form of payments to loans, to credit card companies, buy now, pay later. This is the big one. So buy now, pay later is everywhere. You check out when you're ordering some fast food, or you are thinking about, traveling, you want to go see your parents, you're going to a family reunion, or your friends are talking about a vacation. And then right when you're about to check out, it says break up this payment into 4 easy payments at 0% interest. And it's very tempting. Now, this is not a bad thing in itself if you can manage your payments. So a big part of our financial planning is managing our expenses, and getting debt itself is not a bad thing, but having too much, you can really do that. So that FOMO can kick in because you're like, well, I probably shouldn't buy this thing, but it's only going to be $20 a month if I do this buy now, pay later thing. So I don't want to demonize buy now, pay later. However, you need to make sure that you're not stacking up those loans and putting yourself where you have more going out than what's coming in. And so this is an example of where the interest will work against you. So when it comes to large purchases, whether it's a vacation or the concert or whatever event you want to do, or there's an emergency, those emergencies are going to happen. The tires are going to go out. There's the children are going to need new clothes. There's just going to be things. Christmas comes every year. Sometimes we find ourselves surprised, like, oh man, it's the end of the year already, but it comes around the same time every single year. So saving for those things and not financing them is the way to go. Because when I got my first credit card in college, I found out the hard way about interest and how interest works against you. And so I got a $1,000 credit card as a college student. I was 18 years old, and I was going through the courtyard at my college, and they had these vendors set up with free T-shirts, and they had Frisbees, and they had pizza. And they said, hey man, you want some pizza? I was like, yeah, I want some pizza. It was like, well, fill out this application. You want a T-shirt? Yeah, let me fill that out. And so had all these T-shirts and pizza vouchers and all that stuff. And so I signed up for a cell phone on the spot, got me a cell phone plan. And 2 weeks later in the mail, I get this white envelope and it's $1,000 credit card. And I was like, I didn't even remember applying for a credit card, but it was $1,000. I was like, man, somebody wants to give me $1,000. They want to give me that. And so I went out and I spent $50 on it to test it to see if it'll work. And it did. And I was like, wow, I've hit the jackpot nobody knows about this thing that I have. And so I started buying clothes. I was into the big jeans at the time. I was buying some expensive big jeans and had some jerseys and all that stuff. And I spent all the $1,000, and the monthly payment was $50. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, that's no problem. But then I learned about over the limit fees, and then late fees and interest and compounding interest, and that 1,000 turned to 5,000. So this chart here that we have up here is just talking about minimum payments and monthly payments and how it can be a trap. So that $1,000 emergency for buying the school clothes, or you're having a bad day and you're like, you know what, I need some clothes therapy. It's only $25 a month. Oh, that's manageable. But paying that minimum and not paying it off early can turn to $9,000. That $2,000 vacation where all of your friends are going, whenever there's that FOMO, that fear of missing out, it feels like everybody else is doing it but you. And so you say, you know what, I need to live my life. I'm young. I need to enjoy it while I can. It's going to only be $124. Well, paying that minimum could be $41,000. And then the emergency, the big one, the roof goes out, or there's some medical bill that just pops up. And we're all going to have these emergencies that are going to happen. $10,000 on a 29% interest credit card can end up being almost $83,000. And so don't get fooled by the monthly payments. It may seem small. So just like the previous slide, the small can turn into a large for you. It turns into a lot against you with paying somebody else. So make sure you pay yourself and have that compounding interest work for you. And lastly, saving for college. This is a big part of retirement planning. Some of you have gone through college and have done that without accruing any type of debt. That is excellent. Some have accrued debt and you're paying off your student loans. Some of you may be thinking about paying off your children's tuition. And so that is a part of your financial plan as well. If you have small kids, you can start planning for them now with like a 529 plan. There's UTMA plans. There's all different types of investing and saving vehicles that you can use for your children. So, of course, encourage them to get scholarships, and staying in state is something that can save you a lot of money. Yes, there are some of the schools that are out of state that have the experiences and that sort of thing. There's nothing wrong with that. We always want to shoot for the stars. However, if it's a difference of $40,000 a year or $80,000 a year or even $10,000 a year, just having that conversation to say, okay, hey, is this difference worth it to me and to you for your future? Because some of us may find ourselves working longer to finance our children's education. Last thing before we wrap it up, your account. So I don't know about you, but there have been times where I was talking with somebody about a product that I wanted to buy, a pair of shoes or something, and then I just got ads on that pair of shoes for like a week. And it's like, man, is this phone, is this thing listening to me? That probably is. And so your account, your information, people want to take that and they want to steal it and do bad things with that. So you want to lock up your account with multi-factor authentication, your TRS account. So when you set up your account, make sure you're adding that. Do this for your email. Do this for all your other accounts, your cell phone. For any accounts where you can add multi-factor, please do that. Yes, it's a little bit of inconvenience, but it can save you a lot of heartache because my email was hacked one time, and having 2FA or multi-factor authentication saved me from a lot of money being stolen. So, or at least it was a lot of money to me. It might not be a lot to you, but it was mine, and I did not want it stolen. So make sure that you are adding that to your TRS account. So that is pretty much wrapping up our session. Make sure that you're going to our TRS account, TRS page at trsga.com and logging into your TRS account, updating those beneficiaries. For those of you that are brand new, if you just started, you may have to wait a month or two before you can set up your TRS account, but put it on your calendar to do so and set those beneficiaries as soon as possible. Talk to your HR folks. They know a lot about TRS. They're very helpful, and your other options that you have. So if you're thinking about doing some additional savings, they can point you to those vendors for that. Your state health benefit plan, the Board of Regents, they know bits and pieces of all these different plans. And also contact us. So we have our website, use the contact us form. If you have questions about your account, if you need to listen to this over, or you need to play this for somebody else, again, subscribe, like here, and follow us, and share this out. Play this over. We have our podcast, a lot of different information for you. So make sure that you are informed. Some of this stuff you need to hear more than once. So maybe once a year you come and listen to these type of things, or if we're out in your area, we do a lot of workshops in person as well. So take a look at those things as you're getting further along, do our counseling sessions. And so with all that being said, it's going to be a good school year, and hopefully an even better year now that you know that you are working to help build your financial future while you're helping secure the education of our kids out there. So I definitely salute you all for doing that, whatever your role is in educating and securing the future of our children. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time that you've taken away from your classroom or your office or your staff to attend this session. It will pay dividends in the end. So lastly, we're going to put up a QR code after I stop talking here. If you want to leave us a Google review, we appreciate the feedback there. We thank you for your time, and let us know how we can improve as well, things that you might want to see. So if there is a subject that you want us to cover in pertaining to your TRS benefit or retirement planning, let us know. We're always looking for new content out there. So thank you again. That is all that we have today. My name is Winston Buckley, Director of Communications and Outreach for Teachers Retirement System of Georgia, and signing off.